there are still countries or places which believe that there needs to be a vaccine mandate and even a vaccine passport in order to travel or to do various things, which seems to me based upon the idea that if you're vaccinated, then you're completely safe and can't pass this on. Whereas if you're not vaccinated, then you're unsafe and you can pass this on. But that seems to be faulty, is that right?
Absolutely, it's completely illogical. But, that's obviously what people were led to believe. So the realization um, is occurring, and therefore mandates are being withdrawn, but it's taking longer than it should. And the only problem with that, it's completely reasonable that someone may believe otherwise. And, even though, as I say, well, if you go by the other coronaviruses, that's not what you'd expect. But, I could have been wrong. Could have been the case that they did for whatever reason, just by, the nature of how the immune response was provoked by these various other ways of delivering the spike protein. It could have been the case that they did give you some sort of durable protection against infection and transmission. But the truth is they didn't, and that's very clear now. So what is happening, I think, is the right thing, that mandates are being dropped, but they're being dropped slowly. I guess it takes a while for people to acknowledge that.
I believe Austria has just dropped its
That's right.
final.
Yes, exactly. Austria's just dropped. The sad thing here is that the damage that's caused in the meantime, the people that have already lost their jobs, that is the one thing that I had hoped we might prevent, and I think we failed that way. So, I mean, at the moment, I feel that a lot of what we said is now clearly correct, but there is no pleasure in saying that, because among the things that we said that proved to be correct, the most salient, the most important point there is the damage that these lockdowns and these mandates and all sorts of things would cause. And those, we didn't stop that. It didn't work. It didn't. We may have had a lot of people signing up to what we said. We may have stood and endured the wrath of the academic community and come out at the end, basically saying, well, that's what we said, didn't we? Told you so. But we have lost because we did not stop the harm.
There's been a big drive to vaccinate not just the vulnerable, but to vaccinate the entire population, including children as well. And I just wondered what your view of that is. Is that a good move?
No, it's entirely illogical. As you say, if it's not going to stop transmission, then there's no benefit to the community. So then there can only be a benefit to the individual. If a person is vulnerable, I think, at the moment, I would say on balance, from what I can see, that there is a significant benefit to being vaccinated if you are in that category. And then, obviously, where does that, there are certain people who are clearly vulnerable, and then there may be a little bit of a gray area, which is why I thought the idea of, I don't think I'm personally vulnerable or needed to be vaccinated, but I'm over 50 and I was willing to go along with that sort of general idea that you vaccinate everyone over 50, because you can't, you have to have some cutoff. And as well as those who are obviously in a vulnerable category. And then that would be that.
But not children.
Children, I'm very strongly opposed to the vaccination of children.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have, healthy children, obviously children who are vulnerable, yes, but we should have had studies, very careful studies, to see what vulnerable children could tolerate what the right dosage was for them and all of that. That should have been a focus of our attention. But healthy children do not, as far as I can tell, have any, their risk of disease is very low. And, we don't know what the harms are yet, but there are reports of myocarditis, which, there are certain risks that have already been quantified and others which haven't, but I cannot see how the cost-benefit analysis works out at an individual level for any child to be vaccinated. And there is no community benefit because it doesn't stop transmission. So for me, it's illogical to vaccinate children. Now, even if it had a community benefit, you could argue, you could say it's still unethical, because why would you subject children to the risks of vaccination, of this particular vaccine, even the known risks, just to protect the community?
And that's even
but we don't need to go there. It's just illogical. That's all.
Okay. But one thing which I found very surprising, I don't know if you did too, but the JVCI was asked to approve vaccination for 12-year-olds and over, and they refused, and they were overruled by the medical officers. And then that was some months back, and then more recently they were asked to approve vaccination for 5-year-olds and over, and this time they agreed. I just wondered if that struck me as rather odd. What did you make of that?
No, I'm completely mystified. I don't know what's going on there. I'm surprised.
Well, yes, I was surprised too. I got the feeling maybe they were lent on, or maybe they felt that the wind was blowing in a particular direction. They better go that way.
I have no idea, of course, and but I'm very surprised. I don't understand why you would make any recommendation for children to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
I mean, many countries have decided that's not the way to go because, as I said, the individual risk to a child is vanishingly small.
Yeah.
But probably not there at all. I think it's very, very low. And, particularly among adolescent teenagers, boys, the risk of myocarditis is not not insignificant, and it just doesn't make any sense.